Hello, everyone. Welcome to Carrow Road. I thought I'd come up to the top of the Jeffrey Watley stand this time because it's a bit blowy, and obviously you wouldn't want anything to get in the way of my dulcet tones this afternoon, I'm sure. Happy Halloween, by the way. This was fitting then, wasn't it? Okay. So Norwich have lost here, 2-1 to Leeds. The game revolved around 4 nutty minutes, really, where Raphinha, who was by a distance, I would say, the best player ability-wise on the pitch, created a wonderful goal for himself where Norwich perhaps left him with too much space. I actually thought Andrew Omobamidele, who came in today for suspended Ben Gibson, did quite well against Raphinha, given the quality of player he was up against for long spells. But he probably did give him too much room there, and that was enough for who was clearly Leeds' danger man to give Leeds a lead, which was the worst possible thing that could have happened to Norwich. Bear in mind, we're still waiting for them to lead for a single second of this Premier League season at any point. Andrew himself headed in an equaliser from a corner about a minute and a half later, which was absolutely perfect for the timing. Absolutely, yeah. The only thing Norwich really could need at that point. Only for 2 minutes later, Ozan Kabak to lose the ball in midfield. And although I haven't really watched that back properly, I'd like to see that bit back. Doesn't necessarily alter the fact that Rodrigo had the ball 22 yards out and the shot slipped under Tim Krul, which was, well, even the man himself, I think, will know he should have kept it out. So they are the main details. The game was erratic from start to finish. I think it was always going to be a bit chaotic. I thought for a team who have been on a terrible run, Norwich, up until the point where they went behind, were really spirited and showed a degree of drive and energy, certainly early on in the game. But Leeds did come back into it as the first half drew on. And they kind of threatened without really looking like they were going to score, which I think I've said it a few times now. This team just looks incapable of taking the lead. They just don't create the right chances. They have a striker they don't service the right way. They spent, £10 million on what I got told at the start and during the summer was a £40 million player in Milot Rashica. And he kind of played as a winger, but was just on the periphery of the game the whole day. I couldn't really tell you what the plan was to score goals. And Norwich ultimately do give away chances, which is something they did at Burnley, is something they did against Brighton. So even if we say how tight they were and they got 2 clean sheets, they still gave away chances, big chances in both those games, better chances than the ones Norwich earned, really. Because ultimately Josh Sargent-Smith's goal came from the goalkeeper making an inexplicable error. So, it was a fascinating game to watch, especially sat next to my colleague Phil Hay at The Athletic, who covers Leeds, obviously, which is lovely to see Phil. Norwich went into this game thinking it was a wonderful chance to really get this first goal. A lot had been said during the week, and this first win. A lot had been said during the week. But the sentiment was the same for Leeds, who were difficult. And actually, I was kind of really disappointed with Leeds. I thought, as I said, Raphinha stood out as their sharpest tool in the box, really, by a distance. That would be a worry for them, I would say, because part of the frustration with Norwich today is that Leeds side looked as poor as any team they've really faced this year. I thought Watford probably looked better, to be honest, on today's evidence, which is maybe not a fair judge. Obviously, I'm only looking after over 90 minutes, but Leeds will need to improve a lot, which kind of brings me down to the main point of this video, which is that, Norwich aren't good enough, are they? What can I say? They give goals away to get level and then concede immediately afterwards is inexplicable, really, regardless of the circumstances and the situation they're in. They just can't do that. I don't really buy that it's a confidence issue completely. there was zero belief, I thought, in the team once they went 2-1 down. They got over the kind of massive wobble of how they conceded the second goal, but even then, it was a real mishmash of trying to put pressure on and a bit of walking around, and it was just a bit forlorn. The whole day has been forlorn since that Rodrigo goal went in. But the confidence wasn't an issue up until that point, I didn't think, or belief. Then I think it was quality, and the quality let them down. And the more I look at this team, we obviously have huge issues with Daniel Farke, and I don't know of a manager or head coach who's turned around a situation like this, short of just keeping him in post anyway and hoping for the best. So I don't really know what much more is to be said about that. We'll see how things develop over this week. And Norwich obviously at Brentford on Saturday. He looked a broken man, I thought, in his post-match presser. But actually, the quality of the players, I think, is a major issue. From what I can see, maybe in some instances how they are being utilised. But you can't just buy young players at a value assuming they will put money on. And I'm afraid maybe Josh Sargent will be a Premier League player in 3 or 4 years' time after a lot of coaching. But at the moment, technically, he looks a considerable amount off it. Norwich have got one striker who's got any notable scoring record. They don't give him the chances he needs to add to that. And it's all such a disjointed mess in terms of what Norwich are trying to do. And I think while they were incredibly willing for a lot of this game, you couldn't say there was any degree of control or clear plan either. So I think Norwich went with a sort of a 3-5-2, but it did get quite lopsided because Omobamidele kind of pulled out as a left back, and that allowed Milot to push up as a winger, and then it became more of a 4-4-2. Obviously, they were dealing with Ben Gibson's suspension. That's something actually that Graham Potter's done quite a bit at Brighton. So I could sit here for the next 2 minutes and tell you all the wonderful ways that Daniel Farke could build on some of the promising signs or work through the coaching to make Norwich better. But we're 10 games in. They've got 2 points, 3 goals now. And you do wonder to what end that is when Norwich are just incapable of developing whilst picking up the positive results that keep them in the picture. Because to be brutally honest, I've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, they're not cut adrift. They're not cut adrift." They look cut adrift tonight. There is a big gap between the teams that are battling for survival and Norwich. And to be saying that, and it's not even November, is makes me wide-eyed at what I'm going to be doing for the rest of this season. So yeah, I don't think there's much more to be said. I thought Christos Schollis came on and then just looked, I don't know, that didn't look right to me. He and there were players hiding at times, and I thought, yeah, that's a real shame because Christos came on and didn't look ready or able. But then maybe that's down to the situation he got thrown in today, and then you're suddenly expecting a lot of a kid. But then there haven't really been many positive situations to throw him in. I don't know, it's difficult. I thought Shemek Poheta, who it's great to see him back on the pitch, thought he did okay when he came on. But I honestly think there is nothing more to be said from me, so I'm going to shut up. Norwich go to Brentford on Saturday. I've got a lot of work to do. I'm not the only one. I would be amazed. If there are any major changes this week, if I'm brutally honest. But things can move quite quickly. Who knows? I don't know. Is what I'm saying right now. Maybe others do, but we'll see where we go from here. There'll be stuff on The Athletic, of course, as always, during the week. And we'll do an On The Ball podcast on Monday. We'll do it live as well, hopefully. In the meantime, have a great rest of your Halloween and a really good week. And I will see you all very soon. If I've forgotten something, I do apologise. Don't think I meant to. And the reaction was a lot of boos, but actually not. It wasn't like they were calling for sacking or anything like that, which is interesting in itself. I think everyone's just a bit gutted, really. And on that note, I'm signing off. Have a lovely weekend, what's left of it, and I'll see you next week. And look after yourselves. Take care of yourselves. Very important. See you all soon.